John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, call. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness. Hyperbole.
They're a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Kenny, I've never seen so much snow in my life.
You're covered. What the heck's going on over there on the East Coast?
A lot of flights canceled. Mine was not one of the last flights out. Great to be with all of you. Thankfully, the power is on. And because I'm soft, the heat is on. It's Monday, Feb 23, 2026. Episode 584 of the Anik and Florian podcast, powered by All the Smoke Fight. Thanks to everybody for being here on a Monday live, noon Eastern on the Screws. You can find the show on the All the Smoke Fight YouTube channel. We thank you for subscribing. We also thank you for subscribing to the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel, where these episodes now reside as well. Oh, my goodness, Ken Flo. Where to begin? How was Utah?
It was great, actually. We got hit with some snow. They haven't been getting much snow at all over there, and they got hit with a big storm. So I actually had trouble getting in, got delayed or diverted over to Denver, had to hang there for a while, got in late, then got in late last night as well. So I'm a little underslept, but we keep cranking on. I'm sure you experience some similar things from time to time.
Oh, we'll get into the snow and all of that. We're talking about you right now, though. We're talking about you. So Jeremy Horn was alongside. Yes. Is that right?
Yeah, man. The old UFC OG. Jeremy Horn, he had 91 wins or something crazy. He has like over 100 fights, but great to see him, and got a chance to teach at his gym. Had a great turnout for the seminar, and got to shoot a little with Jeremy. Yeah. He's a fantastic shooter as well. Awesome guy. So it was a good time.
In Boston, they call him Jeremy Hahn, right?
Hahn.
So, yeah, Ken Flo, elite shooter. Now, you're an elite driver as far as automobiles are concerned. You should see this guy drive a fucking stick shift. But a little auto issue in Utah?
I had a little trouble. So I was staying at this beautiful home. David Allred, shout out to him. Staying at his place up in the mountains. And, not a whole lot there. And, yeah, they plowed a little bit. But on my way down the mountain, I slid a little bit and got stuck in a snowbank. Had to call him up and have him tow me out, and it was a little embarrassing, man. I'm like, I used to know how to drive in the snow, but apparently not. I underestimated how slippery it is.
It is crazy. Yeah, you got to go slowly out there, folks.
Yeah,
I hadn't driven in the snow in a long time. I'm looking out the window. This is not hyperbolic. We got like 2 fucking feet, man. I went outside. It was up to my knees in certain spots.
Man.
But we're here, we're live, we have a ton to talk about, and we are excited to get into all of those things. So I landed in Houston, Texas on Thursday. Didn't check a bag this time, which was nice. People are like, why you check a bag? You're a man, I actually stayed at a Westin. Yeah, and gym clothes, some of us trying to exercise and run off some of this body fat. So I'm at the Westin, and it says, hey, you can borrow gym clothes, right? Some of you have been on airplanes, they give you pajamas, right? At this Westin hotel, and this Westin hotel was a world-class piece of shit, the Galleria. It was terrible. I mean, all the paint on the bathtub floor was chipping off. Terrible experience.
Oh, man.
Although the chicken sandwich, the buttermilk fried chicken sandwich delivered to my room, one of the top 5 best chicken sandwiches I've had of all time. There was some sort of jam on there. So I'm at the Houston airport on Thursday, and I did not check a bag. So we're going to baggage claim, and all of a sudden I hear this distinctive voice that could be a voiceover artist say, is that John Anik or is that his brother Jason? I look over. It's John Jones.
Wow.
So if you're an NBA fan, not that Michael Jordan ever flies anywhere commercially, but that's your equivalent. It's the greatest of all time, John Jones, right? John fucking Jones, Johnny Bones in the flesh at the Houston airport on Thursday, going to corner or see Gable Steveson. He was there with Greg Jackson and Brandon Gibson, so Kenny Florian's name came up. But I got John Jones's cell phone number. He says he followed the Anik and Florian podcast within the last couple of weeks. Where have you been, Johnny Bones? But he saw the John Jones signed boxing shorts behind me.
Let's go.
When he was alerted to the relative greatness of the Anik and Florian podcast, and he said he would like to come on the podcast potentially for a long-form interview. So
heck yeah.
I guess it's
amazing.
on us to deliver. So he took my cell phone, put his cell phone number in it. I texted him. I have yet to receive a text back, but we're just trying to be full disclosure here. Trying to peel back the curtain for you. So another dominant win, of course, as Cody tells me, for Gable Steveson Thursday, 3-0 in MMA, a first-round TKO. And yeah, I had my matters on UFC Fight Night, but we have a lot to get to today. We will be joined by a couple of winners from UFC Fight Night, Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, and we will also be joined by the Monkey King, Jordan Leavitt. So we're excited to talk to those gentlemen. Ray Longo will be joining us in about 20 more minutes. And Ken Flo has 3 quick picks, as they were, for the UFC Fight Night coming up in Mexico City this weekend. And we will also place some bets as well on the way out. Let us dive in, though, to Sean Strickland's signature win in Houston. Let's get to headlines.
Headlines.
It's time for headlines.
I have some very urgent and important breaking news.
Headlines.
On the John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
If you are watching, you see some old clips there of me and Ken Flo. We went on television for the first time together in 2008, which all of a sudden is almost 20 years ago. But
Insane.
We vowed when we launched this show in April of 2015 that it would always be free. It has never been behind a paywall. And if you do want to know what you could do to support the show, it's free. You just click that subscribe button on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel. So Sean Strickland over Anthony Fluffy Hernandez as a pretty sizable betting underdog. The former undisputed champion had an outstanding performance, Kenny. I thought he won both rounds 1 and 2 before delivering the finish at the 2:33 mark of round 3. And a huge win, I think, in a career full of them for an increasingly Hall of Fame guy in Sean Strickland. What was your take on his big win over the weekend that stopped Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in his tracks?
I think this was one of his finest performances, perhaps his best performance since his win over Adesanya. He looked inspired. He looked ready to go. Physically, when he came out, it was like, this is the best shape I've seen him in a very, very long time. And he fought with that signature long-range style. He established his jab. But even more than the jab, I think even more effective than the jab, I think were those teeps to the belly. I think that weakened Fluffy Hernandez throughout the fight. I think it threw off his ability to move forward and pressure. And more than anything else, Hernandez didn't accrue any time up against the cage. I thought that was the most brilliant thing that Strickland did out there, is he avoided having his back up against the cage, was able to establish the distance. I thought it was a masterful performance.
So I have a lot of notes on Sean Strickland as I pull up my fighter card in front of me, and I'll show it to you if you're on the video side. 30 pro wins now, Kenny. 17 of those in the UFC. 10-4 at 185 pounds in the UFC. The only guys really to give him a problem, Alex Poatan-Pereira and Dricus du Plessis ×2. Has the win over Nassourdini Mavov, underrated, relatively short notice, main event win for him. The win over Abus Magomedov has aged well. Obviously, the title win over Israel Adesanya. And when I look at some of the notes from our fighter meetings, a lot of them sort of went on to bear fruit, right? I have better training partners. And he said this with humility in our fighter meeting. We'll get to other things, Strickland, such as maybe the on-mic stuff and taking the microphone out of my hands with all of his bone density. But, he said to us with all the humility of any fighter on the roster, he said, I feel like I have better training partners. I feel like I have better, harder training. And I do think, Kenny, that a lot of what Sean Strickland does in preparation for fight is beneficial in fight because so much of it is actually fighting. He's very sound defensively. And to your point off the top, he was very disciplined and motivated because he understood the challenge that was in front of him. But this was a masterclass as far as I was concerned.
100%. And it's extremely difficult to beat a guy with that amount of experience. You have to have a very, very high level of skill if you want a chance in beating someone like Strickland, if you don't have the experience. And, Fluffy, a little rough around the edges, not the most technical guy, But he wins with his conditioning and with his pressure. And Strickland was able to diffuse both of those things. And I think he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't have all that experience against those elite guys. Adesanya, DDP ×2, as you mentioned, Imavov. I mean, these are truly elite guys. And I think the other thing, he mentioned his training and how intensely he was training with the quality of training partners that he was training with. That elevates your confidence. And we saw that.
$100,000 performance bonus for Sean Strickland, who is now 6-3 in UFC main events. This man has really stepped up for the promotion, right? You can maybe say in another breath that he takes some of that away, if that is your opinion, because of some of the on-mic stuff, even though I know he does rally people behind him with certain things he says that are of a competitive spirit. But he had a year off. And, we talk about Jessica Andrade, taking a shower and then putting her belt on the line against Zhang Weili in China, and when Sean Strickland became the champion, Kenny, he defended it a few months later against Dricus du Plessis because, Raquel Pennington, with respect, wasn't going to headline, right, at UFC 297. And he wasn't the champion for very long. This man is now headlined 9 times. If this is what he does with some appreciable time off after a year off, I mean, my goodness, like I don't want to get to the Chimaev conversation just yet because I sort of want to live in this win, but Fluffy reeled off 8 wins against a number of different stylists. And, this was not his night in more ways than one.
No, I think that time off is important to note because I don't care who you are, what you think your mentality is, how durable you have been, what your appetite is to be competitive in this sport. You cannot keep up a brutal schedule for that long. You're going to need some time off mentally, physically, spiritually. And Strickland was one of those guys who was staying quite active for a while. But I think we saw this great performance from him because of that time off. I don't think we would have seen him do as well against Hernandez if he was fighting every couple of months. You can't keep that up. I don't care who you are. And I think that was a good thing for Strickland to do, reevaluate where he's at mentally and recover, I'm sure, from some of those injuries that maybe he was getting from training. So he looked great because on paper, John, this was a very difficult stylistic matchup for him. But his beautiful execution didn't really make it look that way.
So I love Anthony Fluffy Hernandez as human being and as fighter. I have not called a lot of his fights. This was his 11th fight night appearance, Kenny. And he has fought 1 time on a numbered card, and that was during COVID at the Apex with no fans, right? So he has never fought on a numbered card in an arena with fans. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, in realizing the number 4 in the world ranking, has never experienced that. So let me qualify what I'm about to say with the fact that I have not seen him fight a lot live. Daniel Cormier called his previous fight to this, and he said on a live microphone, "This is my new favorite fighter," right? So I understand what a lot of people see, and I sort of was buying the hype. But it would appear to me that Jim West and this team have a lot of work to do now because this fight was sort of over before they sort of realized what had happened, and it's way too casual to sort of sit back and assess, think that we were 1-1. And it is unmistakable in combat sports that a super fucking strong core helps you. And Michael Bisping, if you don't want to take it from me, suggested that maybe some of the extra body fat in the midsection doesn't make you equipped to take this knee nearly as well equipped as you would be if you're getting slapped by wood on that 8-pack every other minute like Edson Barboza. So what do you have for us on Fluffy in defeat and how he can close what looked to me like a significant gap with this division's elite?
In regards to the body shots, it can be easy to just point that out, but I can't stress enough. There's been a whole lot of guys with 6-packs and 8-packs that have gone down even quicker for the body shot. So I don't think it has necessarily anything to do with that. There's certain guys and certain genetics that allow you to look a little bit more ripped than others. So I don't know if that's it specifically. The other thing is we never know what kind of injuries fighters go in with fights, right? And I'm not trying to give an excuse to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, but it's quite possible. This is a difficult game. Maybe he was a little bit injured. What I would have liked to seen from him was more variety. He became too predictable. And I think that Strickland really did his homework. He was not really surprised by anything, didn't have to adjust. He forced Hernandez to adapt and adjust, and Hernandez is best when he's pressing you up against the cage, and he did not get much time there. Strickland did a great job with his footwork, with his very unorthodox and awkward style of keeping him away. So he never really got his hands on Strickland. If you can't do that, Hernandez can't do what he does best, period.
Yeah. No, and it dovetails with what he said in the fighter meeting. He said he has a good measurement of who Fluffy is. And yeah, they really did their homework, and we'll see the extent to which Fluffy Hernandez can respond. You know, he did lose his godfather right before, and I think, I don't know if you want to get in there, but I just think that, yeah, there are a lot of factors, and this was the first time he had fought a former champion. It was a massive, massive stage, and who knows exactly what was at play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the good thing for him, John, is the fact that, he lost to Strickland, a former champ. I think if Strickland lost, that would have been way more devastating for Strickland. I think Hernandez, this is not a bad guy to lose to. I think he will be back. He'll have to make adjustments, and it's going to be on him and his team to come back. So I think there was much more for Strickland to lose in this matchup than there was for Hernandez. So I think that's kind of, the light at the end of the tunnel there.
Oftentimes, Justin Gaethje will talk about his bone density, Kenny, and let me just say, I know that Sean Strickland likes to take the microphone. He's one of the few guys that I relinquish the microphone to, but in this instance, that was pretty aggressive, right? And I sort of recognize from the handshakes the bone density. He's Gaethje-esque, and so imagine him jabbing you all the time, right? Like, jeez, that is a supremely hard fist, and bone density is a real factor, Kenny. Is it not in MMA?
Absolutely. Not only to give punches, right, with your structure. If your structure is behind that punch, that's going to hurt. It's like running into a wall every single time, assuming your timing is correct. And it may look like Strickland is just flicking out a jab, but I guarantee you do not want to be hit by that thing. So yeah, you look at his bone density, his structure of his body. He's not a small middleweight at all. So yeah, and it also helps your ability to take shots, right? Whether it's leg kicks, like, blocking kicks with your shins or with your forearms, all that stuff, I think really makes a difference. And the way that he shells up with that Philly style defense, even punching Strickland, can mess you up.
Back to Strickland in a few seconds, but on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, it would seem to me, based upon the cloth from which he is cut, that he will come back an absolute monster and in really, really good shape. He has a mentality, Kenny, that he can go hard for 45 minutes, that he can beat anyone in the division really just based upon his cardio. I mean, he's so self-believing and confident that maybe there's going to be some real self-assessment here. And rest in peace to his godfather, Nino. And, I think for Fluffy, man, when you look at some of the middleweight challenges that could be ahead of him, I don't know if he would get somebody like Dricus du Plessis. Nassourdini Mavov seems in line for a title fight, but Strickland might have upset some of that. I wonder if Sean Strickland knew, Kenny, if he peeled back some of the rhetoric, if he might have more of a case. I don't know. I mean, what are you
possible?
Like, the Strickland Chimaev fight to me is enormous. And who do I want to see Sean Strickland fight? Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah.
So with respect to Nassourdini Mavov, the presumed number one contender, at least for the title shot, he's number 2 right now. Dricus du Plessis, the number 1 contender. On any White House lawn or arena, Kenny, I mean, give me UFC number Chimaev versus Strickland, and let's just see them go jaw to jaw, toe to toe.
It's a huge fight. I guess, John, my concern about that fight would be whether they would actually make it to fight night, because I could see these guys literally trying to kill each other. If they saw each other, it's going to be on site, as the kids say, right? I mean, like, can they even do a weigh-in? Wouldn't they have to have like 5 guys between them? It would be an amazing lead up, right? It would be a massive fight because of that. They obviously have a history of training together. They've already been trading barbs, back and forth. So yeah, I think it would be massive. I just hope they wouldn't fight before and, something get canceled. So, but yeah, that's the one, dude.
Yeah. I mean, we got the best security team in the business, and you're right. The only thing you would have to realize is that you probably aren't getting nose-to-nose stare downs because that might get in the way of fight night,
Yeah.
One other note I just had in my notes about Fluffy and Strickland is just in terms of sort of focus and hunger and presence in fight, right? Sometimes these opportunities are hard to come by, right? And Kenny can, I guess, speak to this, right? And as a man who probably assessed all three of your performances in UFC title fights differently.
Once or twice.
You need to be urgent. Sean Strickland was really urgent. And I just think being present in fight, it's so hard, I think, for a lot of these athletes. It comes up in nearly every fighter meeting, fighting on instinct, right? Carly Giudice, I felt like she won the fight in the fighter meeting as much as any fighter could have actually won the fight in terms of what she has been working on, what was in front of her, and her ability to hit a flow state and fight on instinct. So, yeah, I know that's sort of a lot to unpack, but I just think Strickland really is in the game mentally right now.
He is. The other thing I would add, John, would be versatility and adaptability. And I think that Strickland had that. I don't think that Hernandez had that. You could have one thing that is really, really powerful, but if someone is prepared for that one thing, then it's not that big of a deal. Tenacity will get you very, very far. In mixed martial arts, but if you don't have skill behind it and your ability to adapt, like if you can't get to the clinch, then man, you better have some really good striking. And I don't think Hernandez was prepared for that plan B, C, or D. And the guys are just so damn good at the elite levels in the UFC. You can't just have one thing. And if you do have just one thing, like a Khabib Nurmagomedov, then you better be an absolute savage now, because the fighters are just too damn good, too well-rounded, too experienced. So I think Hernandez will learn from this, and he'll be back.
Had Fluffy won 9 in a row, it was not a foregone conclusion that he would have passed Nassourdini Mavov and fought for the championship. And if you don't want to listen to anything that Sean Strickland says, please at least listen to what he says about the champion's strength of schedule, or the champion's inactivity and lack of a schedule, I guess, right? Because anyone who's listened to this show knows that I've called Khamzat Chimaev the most electrifying force in the game. I've called him my favorite fighter, right? But when you're in the Duplessis era as a middleweight contender, the champ's putting the belt on the line every 3 months. So we have a little bit of a Chimaev problem. And I think of all the things Strickland says, Kenny, it's good that he at least acknowledges to the public, like, we got a champion right now. I don't know if he's healthy or not, but he was at the Santos studio, presumably training recently. He did an interview with Bisping and Bear and those guys. Like, I really hope we get to see the middleweight champion compete at some point in time and compete at 185 pounds.
Me too, man. Chimaev is something else, man. He is unbelievable. One of the best grapplers that I've ever seen compete in the UFC. I do think he's an electrifying force. Has a huge fan base. And I think Strickland is kind of smart to call that out for a couple of reasons. I think he wants to piss off Khamzat Chimaev and also, bring the fans over to his side a little bit and say, hey, I'm a guy that has stayed active for the most part. You have a champion right now that is, maybe playing a little bit safe. And I think he wants to put some doubt into Chimaev a little bit. So I like how he's trying to build a case for him getting the next shot.
We'll see what happens. I think in an optimistic world, you would say the latest you see Chimaev would have to be International Fight Week in July or whenever International Fight Week is, because he won the belt in August in Chicago. So you could already argue there's a case for an interim middleweight championship. I don't know if he is going up to 205 pounds or not. I'm sort of inclined to think that Chimaev's next fight is going to be at 85, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it be Sean Strickland. And you don't want to censor Strickland, right? Certainly, it seemed as though they cut his microphone, and I think he probably handled that well, right? Like, certainly Dana White doesn't want to have to censor Sean, but maybe you could pull him aside, right, and just say, hey, man, like, we want to build this fight with you and Chimaev, so I don't know if there's a way to sort of, poke at some things that deserve to be poked at, but maybe not, cross that line every step of the way when you get a microphone,
Yeah, but it's kind of like the kids poking at maybe some of the zoo animals a little bit with the media, right? You have this crazy guy that's going to sound off, and he also gets questions asked knowing that he's going to say something crazy, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I want that soundbite. So, let me just poke at Strickland a little bit, see what he says so I can, write the article and everyone kind of. So I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, with that thing, with Strickland can be smarter about what he says, especially if it's something unrelated to, let's say, his next fight, anyways. Yeah.
I don't even mind if he wants to talk about politics and Chimaev's relationships with people, but I do think that there are things that I don't even want to say because we have a lot of young men and women who listen to this podcast, like goat effer, right? And that seemed to be the final straw for the UFC. It's like, all right, like how many fighters on the roster would refer to another fighter as such? Very few. And Sean Strickland seems to be of an appetite to want to procreate right now. So maybe he will tame that part of it, right? Because I do think there's a lot of merit to certain things he says, but I'd hate to see him penalized when it comes to a title shot because of some of the things that come out of his mouth. And he is an American, and it seems like there are going to be a lot of Americans featured at the White House, but I don't think you're going to get that fight at the White House. I can almost guarantee you that that's not going to be the case. I mean, you imagine Strickland, Chimaev, you just don't need, Chimaev Strickland noise at the White House, Ken Flo.
I mean, I do, but yeah, it would be, it'd be a little crazy.
So who did you pick to win the co-main event, Jeff Neal and Udo Šmedić? Not to put you on the spot.
I believe I chose Jeff Neal.
Okay. So I've never led our conversation or recap of a fight that way before. Very few times. I was just curious because a lot of people had a lot of strong opinion. A lot of people had a lot of strong opinions going into that fight as to what both parties could do, right? We were sort of joking like, Jeff Neal, man, hey, man, you trying to preserve that number 12 rank. You got to be able to beat these guys as a 2-1 favorite. Yep. And I was reading Ben Duffy on SureDog.com, and I brought this up during the fight. A guy like Šmedić, he knows acutely what his weapons are and how to get them off on his opponents. And my God, it has been near fatal for a lot of these recent opponents, and now a guy on this level. So what did you make of Udoš the Dr. Šmedić getting it done by knockout at the 119 MACA round 1?
There's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, gosh, I think Udo Šmedić just went right to work and went in front of Jeff Neal, basically challenged him, said, hey, let's throw down. And Jeff Neal found out what it's like to try to throw down with someone like Šmedić. And, he kind of threw the same combination over and over, eventually landed a left hand from hell that knocked Jeff Neal out cold. Just nasty stuff. He was there to destroy. He was there to make a statement. He was there to make a name off of Jeff Neal, right? Anytime you have a ranking and another guy coming up, that's what they're looking for. They're trying to make an example out of you. So there is some pressure on Jeff Neal's side, and he didn't pass the test. Udo Šmedić did, and boy, was it nasty and violent.
Jeff Neal had a significant amount of time off after the Carlos Prates knockout, but this is back-to-back like this, and pretty tough visual for Jeff Neal. Udo Šmedić, man, he maximized everything. The mic time afterwards, he's a very smart guy. I don't think the nickname has anything to do with his brain necessarily. I could actually get you that answer probably on his fighter card here, but he just really understands what's going on. And he mentioned Serbia, and now he's going to be able to travel back there courtesy of President Trump, who he was able to get in touch with after the fact. So he has this sort of mentality, right, that is, I guess, in some part of promoter's dream. Like, I'm going to win, I'm going to lose. Oftentimes it's going to be by first round knockout. He comes in with the shortest average fight time among active welterweights. What do you think about Šmedić as a potential knockout artist and promoter's dream in this welterweight division now moving forward?
I'll be honest with you, man. I've been sleeping on him. And I think he's finally coming into his own. I think he realizes where his strengths lie. I think he's willing to kind of take the risk of maybe getting knocked out himself, and leaning more on his physicality and his power and his speed. And it's working out well for him right now. So I think he's going to continue to be exciting. I think he'll continue to surprise some people in that very difficult 170-pound division. But I'm not sleeping on him anymore, and I don't think anyone in that division should either.
There were rumblings of a UFC show potentially in Serbia, and I know he is of an insatiable appetite to headline that show. So if that happens, that would be a career moment, not unlike Azerbaijan was for Fiziev and other fighters. So we'll see if that can all materialize for Uros Medic, fighting out of Anchorage, Alaska, by way of Novi Sad, Serbia. I hope I pronounced his city right. Longest pro fight for Uros Medic, Ken Flo. 12 minutes and 36 seconds. And going into that fight against Matthew Semmelsberger, he won it with a spinning back elbow, by the way. But he said to us, he can take a punch. This might be my first distance fight. It went 12 minutes and 36 seconds. So we'll see what they do with Udo Schmedic. Speaking of knockout artists in the welterweight division, Carlos Prates has hinted at a big fight. And it seems like maybe Conor McGregor has suggested that his return is against a quote-unquote no-name opponent. Now, Carlos Prates is one of the top 10 most popular fighters in the UFC right now. So a no-name opponent he is not, but maybe to some of the more casual mixed martial arts observers, Nate Diaz, he is not. So let me table McGregor v. Prates for a second, if I could. It seems as though we have the senior member of the Anik and Florian podcast. Let's get to the Ray Longo minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That's
Hey, what the hell's going on?
Look alive out there. I mean, have you been on a bus in Alaska eating poisonous plants? Ray, are you going to the gym today?
Oh, definitely not. I can't find my car.
What the fuck is going on up here, man?
I'll tell you, man, if there was ever a winter to not come up here and move here, John, this was the one. This is, you know what it is, Kenny? A lot of people are hanging on by a thread, and then this happens, and I'm like, oh, these people are gone. This sucks, man. I'm just losing everybody. We got hammered. How bad is it in Connecticut?
We got fucking hammered, Ray.
Hammered.
This is wild. Certainly in some pockets, it's very hilly here. I'm right on the border near Port Chester, New York. In some places, we got almost 2 feet. The side of my house was up to my knees. I've never seen snow like this, and I grew up in Massachusetts and lived there for 30 plus years. This is nuts. There's nowhere to put it.
Yeah, that's the problem. We need warm weather as quick as possible.
You guys got to come down south.
Yeah, Kenny, this was bad. So I'm not going anywhere today. So you got me.
That's great.
Let's hang out. Let's go.
Very excited about that reality. So we're supposed to get a couple more feet later this week. So we'll see how that impacts.
Jeez,
that happens with that's not.
Well, when we get off the phone, you can check your weather application. My daughter told me now what those symbols mean actually on the weather, and one of them that I thought meant flurries means heavy snow. So we're supposed to get a couple more feet later in the week. So all systems go. People who live here by choice, present company included, like you don't have to. All right, lot to get to with the Charlotte program. Ray Peter Longo, Sean Strickland, man.
Woohoo!
What else can you say? I mean, I think he's a UFC Hall of Famer. But I don't want to talk about that. I'm just saying, adding this win to his body of work is a huge feather in his cap. What'd you make of Sean?
Sean was he on point, man. I tell you, just the beauty is in the simplicity, no? With the jab, just popping that jab all day long, disrupting the guy's rhythm. And then, the thing with Strickland too, great killer instinct. It's funny how he can go from just jabbing you to death, and then he just turns it up as soon as he realizes he's got you in trouble. And that's a fighter, man. He could take it, he could dish it out. Great takedown defense. That was a master class in and when I use the word simplicity, I'm not using it the way it's simple to do. I'm just saying it's direct,
simple but not easy.
Right, simple but not easy.
Yeah,
But Sean knows Sean. He knows how to stay within himself and do exactly what he does good most of the time in the fights. And that's really, if you can't disrupt his rhythm and make it a dirty fight, you got major problems.
Were you surprised by that? Is that the way you saw it going down? Because in my mind, I thought it was going to be a really tough stylistic matchup.
Here's the problem. So at the end of the thing, you guys were saying who's winning. I just went with Fluffy. I mean, he was a big favorite, but
Yep.
I thought Fluffy was going to make it really dirty, get inside and just grind on him, kind of like Drickus does. Drickus
Right.
doesn't look good, but the problem is I think Drickus is a 6'2" bull. You know what I mean? So he could take it. I guess Hernandez can't take it the same way Drickus could take it, but I thought Fluffy would make it very dirty, get on the inside, and again wear on him, and then maybe be able to get a takedown in the 4th or 5th round and do something. But not even close. The guy made it. Sean actually made it look easy, and hats off to him. Hats off to his performance and his post fight. Press conference. I don't think I could get enough of the guy at this point. They turned his mic off.
I was totally captivated by
guys
the things that I find off-putting like everybody else. But yeah, I'm totally captivated.
When he said he wasn't fighting Hernandez, he was fighting Jim West or whatever the guy.
Yeah. He comes for blood. Yeah.
He's fucking funny, man.
I mean, hey, if you look up Sean Strickland, John Anik, certainly we've had a dust up in the past, but I can't get enough of the guy, Kenny.
No.
I can't. It's not that we're aligned in every utterance, right? Certainly there are things that I'd like him to leave on, but I'm sitting there watching his media day, and I'm like, popcorn this is fucking. Sorry, not sorry, or whatever the fuck the kids say. Anyway, we got a lot.
I think the best, John, is that Dana then blamed the press for even asking him the question. Like, what questions are you going to ask him? You don't think he's going to segue into any of that stuff?
Yeah.
He's like, you forced it out of him. Of course, ask him about Big Bunny or whatever the guy's name is.
Well, what do you think I was going to ask him on the weigh-in stage at the ceremonial weigh-in? Oftentimes for the challenger, not that I'm trying to give them a layup, but they're not looking to be verbose in that instance. So, and Fluffy, not the challenger, but the blue corner, I say, what are your thoughts on the eve of the biggest fight of your career, which it was for Fluffy. And then I go over to Sean, and I'm just in the moment. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I just know that I'm probably going to give him the baton, and he took it, and he gave it back in short order. So there's nothing to be worried about. All right. So we have so much to talk about. We almost need like a pardon the interruption clock on the side.
Yeah.
So I want to see Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland, and I want them to lock the gate behind them, Ray. That's what I want.
I love it. I love that fight. Especially 5 rounds has to favor Strickland. I mean, it all comes down to can he stop the takedown, and can he get back up if he gets taken down? I mean, that's kind of it. But I think they have trained together, right? So they know exactly what the deal is.
Do you think it helps? Do you think it helps that he faced someone like Hernandez and can maybe kind of utilize a similar game plan? Do you think that helps him at all, or?
Nah, I think Sean. I think he's dialed in on everything. I think it was it was good that he got back in there. Yeah, he had a decent layoff, but I don't think that was a similar style to Chimaev. I mean, it's similar, but Chimaev, I think, is at another level of intensity when he's coming forward. Hernandez was hesitant. He couldn't get past that jab, and he was trying, but it wasn't. Wasn't good enough. No, I think. I guess it helps. He has activity against the guy that wanted to take him down, but I don't think I don't see any. The intensity is just way off.
So, Ray and Kenny, I don't mean to suggest that the most sculpted middleweight RoboCop on the roster would have been able to take this knee, but Michael Bisping did bring up the fact that there isn't a ton of maybe muscle in that midsection of Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, and maybe it's neither here nor there that his nickname Fluffy is because he had extra body fat as a kid, right? But sometimes I look at him and think that he could be a monster at 170 pounds. And not to suggest that his is a welterweight frame. I don't know if he's done the intensive testing at the UFC PI, but what are your thoughts on maybe a fighter who does some more old school ab training might be better equipped to maybe have taken that shot?
Who you're asking me?
Well, you're looking
Yeah.
at me like I'm
Yeah.
crazy. Now, I have a 4-pack, not a 6-pack, incidentally, but Michael Bisping was the one who brought this up. So I don't want to, I'm not a fighter. I'm not an analyst. I'm just saying that, I've covered boxing. I've seen a ton of guys
Yeah.
work on that core and work on the ability to take a shot to that
Yeah.
core. And I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah. No, look, Fluffy, if I'm not mistaken, he looked a little soft around the midsection. Some guys could take it, some guys can't. Some guys, you could hit them in the head with a brick, you tap them in the body, and they're rolling around. So everybody's different. But Hernandez didn't look like he was, like he had a 6-pack. He looked a little like he could have.
But he never does.
Yeah, right. But
he will now. See, my thing is like in his next fight, he will. Like next fight, he'll come out and we're gonna be like, oh my God, look at this fucking guy. So if it doesn't matter, then maybe he'll come back just as fluffy for the next one. If I was not a play-by-play man, I was just an MMA columnist, I'd be like, I could write a column that would be sensationalized, be like Fluffy, too fluffy for 85, and you create this narrative and you get people talking, you know what I mean? Like that's how sports fans do it. I'm not trying to do all that. I'm just saying, like, when you lose like this fairly spectacularly, you assess everything. And I think he's going to have something closer to a 6-pack the next time we see him at 85 or 70, probably 85.
Yeah, I think he had, that's what led to the downfall, but it wasn't going his way before that either. So he's got a lot of things to work on. But, Kenny, it's funny. You watch the Thai boxers, they just need the shit out of each other. Nobody even looks like they're batting an eye. So, but the first thing that comes to my mind, which I doubt, because I've seen guys like, again, that could take a punch, but they were drinkers. And they get tapped to the body, and it's bad, man. I don't know if that liver's soaked in alcohol or whatever it is, but I don't know if that had something to do with it. But
he's a weed guy. He's a weed.
Is he a weed? No, I'm just saying, there's something. I don't think that. I mean, look, you get hit the right way.
No, of course,
anywhere, anybody's going down, but I can't see that being. We've seen guys take more knees than that and not be affected by it. It's like the calf kick. Some guys get kicked twice and they're immobile. And now guys are starting to walk through the calf kick, Kenny, like it's nothing. So
and it's hard to quantify the accuracy and precision and power of a body shot.
100%.
Because you see certain guys like, get hit in the body and be like, it looks like he didn't even get hit, and he is folded over looking at his own asshole. And it's just like it depends. It really depends on. And guys with 6-packs, guys without 6-packs, it's really hard to
what
find
was
out
your
what
philosophy, Kenny, in terms of either core training or any of that stuff? Obviously, your strength and conditioning was insane. I know what you did, but I'm just thinking in terms of like the core and the abs or any old school methodology, any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Early on, even before I went to Thailand, and we definitely did a lot of it in Thailand, but we would do abs. You'd be doing sit-ups, and someone would take a Thai pad and hit you in the stomach as you were going. And what it trained was not necessarily that like, oh, you're going to have stronger abs now. It taught you to tense up and flex at the right time before the impact of the shot. So what it's really training is your mind to tense up and flex to protect your belly. If you are breathing in and you eat a shot, even if it's just a little tap, watch out, you're going to get folded over. So it's more the timing of, so it's kind of training your mind, your body to flex up at the right time to protect your insides.
Yeah, John, I used to stand on guys'
stomachs.
I used to stand on guys' stomachs when they were doing crunches. I think what Kenny's bringing up is a good point too, is that I don't care what you're doing. As long as you're doing something, you're making that mental connection that I got strong abs. And I will say this, Kenny, it goes to your point. I mean, Strickland, he was throwing a jab, no kicks, no nothing. So that knee was a surprise.
Yeah.
And that's the one that gets you. You know what I mean? And that I think it's more that man, you're playing around, you're running, and then all of a sudden that comes out of nowhere. This guy's never need you up until this point in the fight, and he just placed a perfect knee at the right time, and he got the reaction that he needed. But again, if Strickland doesn't have a sense of killer instinct, that moment could have been fleeting.
Right.
That could have went right by. He sensed it, and he did what a fighter does. He jumped all over it, kept his range, and he bombarded the guy. Gave him no choice but to, fold up like that. So and that was Strickland, because he could have backed out and maybe not realized it, and then another 10 seconds the guy's fully recovered.
And that was after eating a ton of teeps. You know, we know how tough Hernandez is. We've seen him hurt before and continue to press forward. But a good body shot, you know, you talk about fatigue makes cowards of men. A good body shot makes cowards of men. It takes the fight right out of you. And from then, from there, it was all Strickland taking advantage of that with the finish.
Yep.
It's cool.
Ray, I feel like the best point that's been made over these 45 minutes is about Strickland's killer instinct down the stretch. And I do think it points to his evolution as a fighter, Kenny and Ray, right? Because I don't know that Sean Strickland a couple of years ago, without this learned championship experience, would have really forced the issue and pedaled the gas there the way he did.
Like again, and to be able to go from, let's say, a 2 to a 10 or whatever that jab was producing, but he was just relaxed behind that jab. Every so often he'd put that cross in behind it, but he's very calculated, man. What he does better than anybody, and that's why he's having success, and he's got the right mindset. The guy is a fighter. I mean, I love the way he gives it up to Hernandez after. You know, he's going to put on a show. He's going to get eyeballs to watch the fight, but at the end of the day, I think he does really respect anybody that steps in that octagon. And that's what I really like about him.
How about Melchizael Costa? And we'll live in the martial arts, but if you don't know the background, Baru, Sao Paulo, Brazil, born in Pará, vitiligo is the skin condition. He used to hang out away from everybody in isolation with the animals. He was so embarrassed about his condition. Now he's on top of the damn MMA world. His nickname's the Dalmatian. And even when you think about the confidence as human being now compared to his UFC debut 3 years ago, it feels like he's aged 15 years in 3 years in terms of his confidence. Ray, can you turn your fucking phone off, please? I mean, what?
Man, you could freaking hear. I could barely hear that.
Well, you got those big cans around.
Hold on a sec.
It's so funny that he says he can barely hear that, because we sat on a plane together and I got yelled at by a flight attendant for having alleged audio coming out from my iPad, which it wasn't. It was on Ray's side. He was. And Ray's like, no, you're fine. And it's like, no, it's you. The woman in front of us complained to the flight attendant. And then she turned around and looked at us like, is this crazy?
That's amazing.
The worst first class etiquette I've ever seen.
You know? That's amazing.
Oh, they don't want me in first class. That's for damn sure.
Yes, that is. Yes, you are a flight risk, I think, for sure.
Dude, that spinning back kick was nasty. Dan Ige is a pretty damn tough guy, okay? And again, had never been stopped. But when he ate that shot, you literally saw him in tremendous pain. There was no faking that. It went right to the orbital. I hope he doesn't have any, damage there as far as breaks or anything or fractures in that area, because that could be bad. But man, what a well-timed shot. And that was it. Amazing. And again, talk about killer instinct. Followed up, got the finish. But Melchizael Costa, man, what a beast.
And again, came out of nowhere. So the element of surprise again. I mean, I think you keyed in on something. Ige is a tough motherfucker, man. And you could see that instant reaction of what the fuck just happened. You know what I mean? Like you had a feel for the guy. And that was a good stoppage. That would have been stupid to let that go on. But wow, that came out of nowhere. That's just one of those things. Like somebody was saying, you think he was aiming for the face? Who the hell knows? But the guy was shorter than him. He threw that. Maybe he ducked into it. And wherever that thing was landing, it was going to cause damage, but not like that. Not like where he got hit.
Kenny, a lot of jobs on this earth require us to be very precise in a millisecond of time, right? You can speak to it as a practical shooter and tactical shooter that you are, right? A referee in MMA has sort of one split second to be right or wrong, too early, too late. And certainly referees are going to be far more praised in the public eye for letting a fight go a little bit too long than if they stop a fight a little bit early. But Dan Ige had never been finished. He had been a beacon of durability, and he immediately intelligently defended. So I understand, Ray, and agree with you largely that another shot on that jaw would have been really counterproductive and probably could have, broken his jaw. And then, he's not laying down with his kid, taking care of his daughter who is now sick, 48 hours later. But I would say out of one side of my mouth, I feel for these referees because, your whole reputation, lies in the balance of an instant. But I also feel like you got to know Dan Ige is one of the most durable guys on the athlete. He immediately defended. Just give him a beat. Just give him one beat, one chance to try to work his way back up or into the fight.
Yeah, but he wasn't near working his way. He was just covering up. Like, that's not intelligible defense. That's the problem.
Yeah.
After a shot like that, John, look, I'll even agree with you. I'll go either way. It doesn't matter. But it wasn't like he was working his way back up, or he was
right.
I don't know what he was. Just he was in a state of shock, I think, for a split second. And
yeah,
I think you have to protect a guy like that from his own good.
Yeah.
We know Ige's tough enough to where, like you said, you want him to take a couple unnecessary shots, and then, listen, you got caught. If that's all it is, just go back and get back to the drawing board and get back in there. I'd rather see that than have some long-lasting problem because you were so tough for your own good and you still lost the fight. What's the difference?
Yeah, for me, I think the big difference, and I agree with you, Ray, I think the big difference is, curling up in the fetal position, blocking, just kind of like in pain,
in pain,
trying to survive is different than, say, trying to control the head, controlling the arms, going on the offense, trying to get back to your feet. That would have been very different. But him not trying to move and just trying to survive and covering up, to me, indicated he was in big, big trouble. And I have no problem with that stoppage. But,
and watching the pain on his face going down.
He was in pain.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a good ref, I think that would be enough to where split second wise you'd go, I got to help this guy. You know what I mean? That's the way it looked to me. It's almost like when you get a submission on and the guy screams. You know what I mean? Like it's
that's fair. No, and Kenny, I'll let you get back in here. Cody wrote that he loves late stoppages, it sounds like, but really it was like a nasty shot, and he's sort of like up close, I guess. Yes, like you sort of now, as I think back to the moment, like thank goodness. Kenny, go ahead.
Well, to your point, John, Ige did get up after the fight was stopped. He was wanted to continue to fight because he's an absolute warrior. But and when you're hurt like that, time makes no sense. Time does not make much sense. You think hey, that was just 1 second of time. It's like you got hit in the head. That could have been 3, 4, 5 seconds of you being in pain and you weren't really aware of it. So it's a tough one, and Ige is one of the good guys in the sport, man. So it sucks to see him get finished like that for the first time, and I'm sure that is a big shock to the ego and all that stuff. And I know how hard he works, so it's unfortunate there. But man, this sport is just crazy.
I'll tell you, and Kenny's right. It's a big shot to the ego, but I'll tell you, it goes to show you. It goes to show
well
you
done, well done.
It goes to show you how tough Gaethje is, because remember he took that kick from Holloway in the first. Wasn't it the first
round, dude? Yeah,
and he went through that, and like again, like God bless him, because he looked good in his last fight, but he took a big shot too with that kick. You got to be careful. I've seen it in the gym, believe it or not, where a guy went for a takedown and he ran into a spinning back kick, and it was not good.
Yeah.
So I can sometimes have a recency bias, right? But there were a lot of people who really didn't love the matchmaking Volkanovski v. Lopez 2, in some part because it just sort of felt like, why are we maybe wasting some of these last fights from Volk? The outcome felt like an eventuality. The fight happened very quickly. And as I've said, I feel like you can argue Volkanovski won 9, if not 10 of those rounds. Melchizael Costa, man, 29 years old, Kenny. He is a very instinctual fighter. He's very long. He's got natural power, volume. He scrambles well. Without getting too crazy on myself a little bit on a Monday, I mean, what do you think about Costa moving forward as a UFC featherweight contender that could really challenge the elite?
Well, Ige has been kind of a measuring stick for the division, and if you're able to beat Ige, then you are absolutely elite. Finishing Ige, which is something that no one else has done, I think absolutely confirms that Costa is, can be elite and can challenge for the belt. I think Costa was a guy that I was sleeping on a little bit heading into this fight. I thought he had a great chance of winning. I wasn't sure if he would be able to finish, but man, I mean, what else can you say after that? You finish a guy like Ige in that manner. He clearly had the offense to be fighting at a high level. I think his defense is improving. I think if it continues to improve and his wrestling and all that stuff improves, this guy could be fighting for the belt potentially early next year.
Yeah, really good guy, and he wasn't really on my radar either. He kind
Well,
of,
right.
I'm there now.
Yeah.
I will
Yep.
not forget the guy now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he made the statement he needed to make, and now I think all eyeballs are on him. And now, he's going to keep getting tough fights. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, he looks like a nice prospect.
Cody, thanks for the comprehensive contribution in the chat. Right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, Melchizedek Costa plus 150,000. So 150 to 1 to end 2026 as the UFC featherweight champion. Some other numbers: Volk is plus 150, Lerone Murphy plus 250, Mobsar Evloya plus 300, Jean-Lord Silva plus 500, Aljamain Sterling, whom we will get to, is plus 1,300, and Melchizedek Costa is that 150 to 1. I mean, am I reading that right? Anyway,
150,000. What the hell?
So yeah, 150,000 one. Excuse me. I just am having a hard time reading it in that way. Like I need to see a different number or what a $10 bet would actually pay. But no, I mean, Costa's not going to get a title shot this year, right? But like if I'm Ray Longo coaching Aljamain Sterling, I could really use without this fucking dynamic striker all of a sudden with all these featherweight contenders lining up. This kid from Brazil, Costa banging out arenas in Sao Paulo. Raymond, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, $10 pays you $1,500.
Okay, so 15,000.
150 to 1.
I can't read.
Wow.
Yeah.
150 to 1, $10 on Melchizedek Costa. And again, stranger things have happened, right? On short notice, a guy potentially get an opportunity. But Lerone Murphy had to really extend himself over 15 minutes, if memory serves, to beat Dan Ige, who had moments in that fight.
Yeah.
And Melchizedek Costa is going out there, dicking around with Bruce fucking Buffer and then spinning a field-looking Dan Ige to the face. In what round? 1. I mean, come on. All right. We got a few more minutes with Ray Longo. We got the Monkey King Jordan Levitt coming up in a few minutes. I guess the stoppage that deserves more discourse is Jacoby Smith and Josiah Harrell, but I sort of want to give Jacoby Smith his flowers before we live in the end of the fight because, man, I mean, I don't know. Some people just pass the eye test, Kenny, and this kid, in terms of the total packaging of the wrestling and the striking and the mean streak and the athletic pedigree, I think Jacoby Smith's going to be a problem for a long time.
You want to give him his flowers? He was trying to send his opponent to a funeral. My goodness. What the heck?
Dude, you did.
I'll tell you what.
Physically, he's an absolute animal. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of people like do a backward roll off of a takedown.
Man.
Like the dude is so athletic and aware of his body. He got taken down and decides to use that momentum and does a back roll to get side control. You're like, really? Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff where you're like, you can't teach that. That is that's kinetic awareness. That is athleticism. That is strength. That is flexibility. Amazing athleticism. And then to turn the tables like that and immediately land shots that were that impactful. And Harrell's no joke, man. He is a very good fighter, very skilled guy. He had some cool moments where he was throwing some good offense, but man, Jacoby Smith is physically very impressive. I did not like the way the fight ended. That was not cool. However, prior to him continuing to hurt his opponent, I thought it was extremely impressive.
Yeah, I tell you, you talk about instincts. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I tell you, besides that kid looked like it was going to be a tough fight. It looked like he was going to hang in there. And what I love is, I mean, I don't know if he caught him off guard, but the other guy's takedown was beautiful for an eighth of a second. And then that guy just instinctively, whatever the hell he did, to reverse that and get on top. And then, like you say, have the presence of mind I mean, we're talking like a second. And then he went right on the attack and just started hammering blows. So if you're looking for instincts, I don't think there'll be a better barometer of that, because it was even the other guy's takedown to me looked, I mean, I love what he was doing. He was putting the guy on the defensive, trying to take him down, which I love. But man, did that backfire. But I still think he did the right thing. But what he's doing, who the hell expected that? Nobody else is doing that. I don't think we would see that from anybody else.
And it's not like Harold was not athletic. I mean, the guy's really athletic as well, but there's levels to the game. And man, that was crazy.
I mean, imagine, Kenny, you hit a nice takedown, and it's literally like an eighth of a second later, you're getting elbowed in the head. Like, I don't even think the other guy had time to process what was going on. So
he took him down.
That was beautiful.
He took him down into side control and then got reversed into side control. I mean, that's got to be so frustrating too. As a guy, it's like, I did everything right, but this freak just turned the tables like
without a doubt. That was out of a movie. You wouldn't have believed that if you saw that in a movie. Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, crazy.
Josiah Harrell can fight, and to your collective points, he's a good athlete. And Matt Brown's in his corner, and he's a really hard worker. And Jacoby Smith, my gosh, I promise you, before we get on out of here, we will talk about and address that stoppage in detail, but I don't want to keep a good man on the line. So now joining us, Ray's going to stick around for a few minutes here. He is the Monkey King, Jordan Leavitt, and hopefully he doesn't weigh 152 pounds right now. Hopefully he is adding some food and some caloric things to his system. But Jordan Leavitt joins us about 48 hours removed from his 6th UFC win, his first as a UFC featherweight. Congratulations, my man. It's good to see you. So I know you had a great energy about you as a featherweight, at least for the first time in the UFC. I know your career began as a mixed martial artist as a featherweight, but now that you're out the other side and you beat a credentialed, fairly highly touted, undefeated fighter as an underdog, you got to be feeling pretty good. So how was the week that was?
The week was pretty stress-free, if I'm being honest, because I wasn't on social media. I didn't know I was the dog. I just knew he was undefeated, and everyone kept telling me how strong and physically imposing he was. So I went out there expecting strength, but then I forgot that how strong I am at 155, and that strength carried down. So yeah, I figured out he was a minus 405 favorite. So I was a pretty sizable dog, and I didn't look it. So that was pretty good. I feel pretty good about that.
5 UFC lightweight wins to your credit, and you're plus 320. Perhaps we didn't make enough of that on the broadcast, but sometimes that can be editorializing. So you won a bonus for the submission of Kurt Holloway. And I'm curious, going into that fight, are you thinking about dropping a weight class? Like, when did this first come into your mind that this was a consideration?
I've been wanting to go down to 45 since I've been signed, if I'm being honest. My last 45 fight was in 2018, and really bad botched weight cut. I got acute kidney failure, and the commission was forcing me to move up a weight class. And then 2020 happened, so I'm forced to fight very often at 155. I get into the UFC, and I'm excited to not be broke, first off, because it's hard to make 45 when you have no money. Right. But I talked to the PI, and I'm like, can I make 45? And they're like, we don't advise it. We don't think it's a smart move for you. So I just decided to stay at 55 and put on muscle and try to give my body time to heal. But around the time I fought Victor Martinez and got the knockout, I knew eventually I was going to go to 45 again. I just needed to get my body healthy. I needed to make some life changes. And after the Kurt Holloway bonus, got here, I knew I could take a few months off to change the body composition and get back to the size I was in high school. And I felt really good. It was my best weight cut in my UFC career. And I was almost frustrated that I wasn't doing this the entire time. So yeah, onward and onward.
You look great, man. So what does this do for you confidence-wise, knowing that, you got to experience 145 pounds? You mentioned, that you felt really, really strong. What does this do for you mentally now, knowing that you have this new division?
Really good. All fight week, I was just, every time I'd see Yadier in the hallway, I'd wave across the alley of the elevators. I'm like, oh, I'm his size. I always see my opponents on fight week, and I'm in my head, I'm like, these guys are huge, and I'm always thinking okay, yeah, he's bigger than me. He's heavier than me, but I just got to be smarter. And I saw my opponent this week, and I'm like, I don't even need to be smart. I just need to do my thing, And I went out there, got the takedown very early, and I felt his initial squeeze, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a stronger dude. I'm a stronger dude today. And yeah, it felt pretty good to go out there and be able to cheat a little bit. So,
Jordan, you have a lot of experience now. It seems you're fighting very comfortably in the UFC. What do you think is the most difficult thing about being a pro fighter, fighting at the elite level in the UFC?
honestly, I think the monotonous schedule. I feel like it's not hard to get really good at some skills, but it can be very boring. And the martial artist in me wants to go to learn new things, to try out new tactics, new techniques every day. I love to go into the gym, especially when I was first starting. And every day I learned something new. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to use this. But at one point you get to a certain level where it's like, okay, I'm drilling the same things for 3 months. And it's a little boring. It's a little stagnating. And just getting used to just that monotonous schedule and just putting time in to master a few things. That's very hard for me. And then the weight cuts and saying no to family things and just the time you miss out on, that's pretty hard. But every job you miss out on things. So.
Yeah. Jordan Leavitt with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. Thanks to everybody joining us on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel. Also, All the Smoke Fight. Ray, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I know you ingest a lot of these live events. I don't know if you saw Jordan's fight. It was the second of the night. But Jordan, when he began in the UFC, didn't have any kids, or it was right around that time, and now he has 2. And he said to us in the fighter meeting, it's a stressor and a de-stressor. And I had never heard it put that way, but I think it's really the perfect terminology, right? My kids stress the fuck me out, and they alleviate my stress too. Like, I don't know how they do both of those things, but they do. Ray, did you see Jordan's fight?
Yes, I did. Congratulations, Jordan.
Oh,
Really good fight. Did anything come into effect? Because wasn't he the guy that fought Bulgarian? Wasn't that the controversial?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, did you take that into consideration? Maybe this guy's not as good as they say he was, because we don't know what happened with Bulgarian. Did he throw the fight? He didn't throw the fight. You know, they're building him up off of that fight. Anything that come into your head at all? Like, I know you're introspective and you look like a guy that thinks about every little detail possible.
Yeah, no, I thought about that. And for me, it was irrelevant because Bulgarian on paper is a better wrestler than me, but I think I'm a better grappler than Bulgarian. So I don't care that Valley, even if Bulgarian was fighting as hard as Valley submitted him, I still think I'm a better grappler than Bulgarian. I knew he wasn't going to submit me like that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what, if I would have got tapped out in the first half round, that fight is rigged. In this fight, there's no way. There was no way that was going to happen to me.
The FBI would have been at your door before you left the arena.
I feel bad that the Bulgarian fight was his previous one, because people on Twitter are like, "Oh yeah, Bulgarian's going to jail." After that fight, like, Bulgarian's going to jail. You know, like, so I was able to out wrestle Valley so dominantly. So I got 2 of the contenders out of the way in this division for me in one night. So yeah, I thought about it, and it was irrelevant. He still tapped out Connor Matthews very quickly. He still had a good performance on Contender Series. He's still undefeated. He's still very physically imposing, undefeated Cuban kid, lots of height. And I kind of like it. I like knowing that people expect me to lose a fight because there's no pressure. I wasn't even on social media. I had no interviews. I had no nothing. I just got to go in there and play the spoiler and get people to boo me, and it felt great.
Well, no interviews, but I will say, you know, we sit down with 15 of the 28 athletes, and God damn it, Jordan Leavitt got a fighter meeting. So I don't always have say into how those come together, but sometimes they'll show me the initial list. And, you know, but you and I haven't necessarily had the chance to sit down all that often. You have been on some fight nights, and but this was good to see you take advantage of this showcase. You know, it's interesting when you talk about that Bulgarian circumstance, because your walkout was in commercial break to, I think, the U.S. audience. Internationally, they got your walkout. And I don't even know if you're a guy who goes back and watches the walkout, but my boss, Zach Candido, called me the day of the fight to ask what my approach was going to be to talking about the betting scandal. And I'm just thinking about the athlete and sort of how I'm going to talk about his measurables and what he does. But yes, in a grappling wrestling world, especially after seeing the confidence coming off you, I didn't think he could hold up with you there. So what do you think the UFC does with you now? How much say do you expect to have in that? And, you know, how soon can you get back in there? Can you make shorter? Do you need more time now as a featherweight than you would have as a lightweight? How's everything going to play out from here?
Well, Tom was talking to my manager backstage. He's like, "Yeah, how does April sound?" I'm like, "That's too early. I'm not fighting in April. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go to the hotel room and eat a cheesecake first.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna eat some fried food for a week, spend time with the family." I'm thinking June at the earliest. I'm hoping for July. I want to get 2 more this year, and then next year I want to be fighting for a number. That's the ideal. But yeah, no, I think the short turnarounds, I can still do it. I just gotta keep on my walk-in and my fat burn and just not pig out as much. But I've been doing really good at introducing new healthy habits. And this weight cut was the best weight cut I've had in the UFC, but I'm still like a 12% body fat. I could still lose a little bit more weight without any negative repercussions. So I'm going to be even more cut. I'm going to be looking like Yadir the next fight. That's the goal. I want to look like him the next fight and walk out there.
Well, and you're still young, 30 years of age. You'll be 31 on June 2nd, right? All things going well for Jordan Levitt right now. But yeah, it is interesting when you think about, say, the next 2 or 3 years. And yeah, just thinking about less in terms of deprivation and more about introducing healthy habits. Do you do hot yoga at all, by the way?
I used to. I did yoga every day for like 7 years, and then I blew out my knee, and then I got out of my practice. Yeah. But that's where all the flexibility comes from.
Well, my son has celiac disease, so maybe you go gluten-free for a little bit. You know,
me too. I have celiac disease. Yeah,
man. Well, hey, man, I'm glad that you were able to carve out a few minutes for us. It was really great to sit down with you. You maximized everything. Enjoy your daughters. Don't let Shelby haze you into an early April date. But we hope to talk to you again, and we look forward to the future, my man. Congrats on a big win.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for talking to me, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, congrats, buddy. Congrats.
Thank you.
The Monkey King, Jordan Levitt. So as the story goes, one time after a wrestling match, he walked off the mat on his knuckles, and he's been the Monkey King ever since.
He's definitely a different cat, but you could see just a nice kid, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was able to get through an interview with a lightweight turned featherweight without bringing up Kenny Florian quite literally staring death in the fucking face to fight Diego Nunes. And then, you know.
I remember lying and telling everybody in interviews that, this was the best weight cut of my life. And no, it was not.
Yeah. So let's say Kenny gave 10 years of his life with those cuts. Let's just say, okay. No, it just dovetails into my next question. I'm not trying to be an asshole, right? Hey, would you rather win $150 million or live twice as long?
Ooh.
I'd rather live twice as long.
Of course you would. You're in your 60s, right? I mean, I'm 47. If you're telling me right now that I can't win my
wow, what a motherfucker this guy is. What a rotten cocksucker you are. That's amazing.
I introduced you today as the senior member of our crew. You didn't say a goddamn thing. If you're Cody Merrow in your 30s, maybe it's a different answer. But Kenny, right, for us in our late 40s, you and me, like you're going to get into our 90s, right? After those weight cuts, we'll take that every day of the week. You can take your money, right?
Hey, time is the most precious thing we have, man.
Dude. I'd give up the 150 for 10 extra years.
It's actually a trick question, right? Unless you're young. But yeah, for any of us, this advanced.
Well, I mean, it's a trick question. Unless, what's the difference between 150 and 70 million? Like, what am I going to do with 150? I got 70 already.
Well, right. And what
imagine that? Imagine if I had 70 million. Think I'd be doing this fucking podcast?
I was actually going to ask if you wanted to scale back your schedule or scale up your rate or what your relative level of happiness was with the current situation going into 2026. But no agent reached out to us. It seems like you're still happy. So
I'm a team player, baby.
Yeah. You still do that UFC unfiltered bullshit on the side or no?
I haven't done that in a while. I haven't done that. I don't think in a while. I don't know.
I'm not even sure if that show exists.
I know.
I think I do Buffett. I don't know if it exists.
Oh, you do Buffer's podcast. Okay. Well, have fun.
Buff.
It's
Come
time.
on.
It's
you gotta be happy with the Buff. No, 30 years.
30 years.
Unbelievable.
He got emotional. Love it.
Yeah. Well,
Buff
so
the man.
I knew this was going to be a problem, that he was going to think he was going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh shit.
And he's not a great listener. So I wrote the lead, and my lead said something to the effect, one day the Hall of Fame will come calling, but tonight we are happy to indulge in this milestone with the greatest of all time. So if he was a good listener, I was trying to give him that so that he would know that this was not the Hall of Fame, and that might be next year or the year after, or even later this year. Who knows, you know? But yeah, 30 years for the Buff Man. It's been an incredible run, to be sure.
Yeah, well, I think that is a little tricky, no? We've never really...
I think so, too. Well, we acknowledged him, I think,
who
in 25 years and 26, and, you know, I think we acknowledged his 27-year anniversary.
Whose idea was that for the 30 years, though? Because I could see Bruce getting tricked like that.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I actually don't want to know.
It was Bruce's idea. No, he didn't necessarily want the feature, but I did see him talk to Craig Borsari and say to him, like, hey, it's my 30th in a few weeks. You know?
Oh, man.
Anyway, hey, Ray.
Oh
my! What? Look, you should see what's going on outside. This is absolutely insane.
It looks like you have sunshine, though. It looks like some sun just came through that window.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I would classify it as such. We got to let you go, Ray. We've taken 45 minutes of your time. You've complained about your rate in a tongue-in-cheek way.
You know
so
what
unless you have anything else,
you know what I like most about this podcast today, Kenny?
Absolutely.
We started
nothing.
on the that would have been better. No, we actually started on a time that we all agreed.
Yeah.
That when we don't hit that time, this guy gets all bent
We
out.
didn't want to disappoint you.
Like I'm from another planet.
hang on a second, Ray. Bring in our good friend, our Anik and Florian podcast insider, mixed martial arts analyst, guru, Randall Clifford. RJ Clifford is his stage name. Great to see you.
Name. You're the only person allowed to call me by my Christian name. Anik.
Okay.
And that's Randall.
Randall.
Yeah.
Randall. Wow.
Hey, go to SureDog.com and look him up. He's a former pro fighter. So hopefully he doesn't tell me on the side to stop calling him Randall. But Ray, I mean, RJ, obviously you're a radio host for a long time. I know you've done some guest booking in your day, right? So when we joined up with All the Smoke Fight, we asked Ray if he would prefer to have the show start at 10 a.m. or noon, right? Because we were not going to continue in our 11 a.m. Eastern time slot. We gave Ray, as the quote unfucking quote star of the show, the chance to pick the time slot. He chose noon. But as you probably just heard, like anytime he's not on the screws 12:30, whether he's in a snowstorm or not, he has a problem with it. And next week I'm going to be in Vegas and I need him at 11 a.m. and he doesn't know it yet. And
all right.
I don't even know how to handle it.
No, but John, it's all right if you tell me a week in advance, but I'm trying to.
All right, I'm telling you now.
Okay,
next Monday, can you do 11 a.m.?
Yes, I'll
and
be
what does
there
that require about you on Sunday night? What time you got to you change up your routine and not stay up till 4 a.m. or what?
Yeah, I have to plan for that.
All right.
Ray with executive producer powers. Like there's people that don't you get to decide when the show is moving forward, Ray. Like that is massive power.
We build it around him.
Yeah.
Clearly.
He also has
a better guy too.
Social Security, right, Ray?
Yeah.
You get Social Security? Yeah. All right.
Not yet. I think I got to wait. You know what's funny, John? I was just looking at that. I think I got to wait a couple of more years.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Let us know, and if you
they're going to run out soon,
Anik, reach out to Jason Anik. Maybe he can up your rate until Social Security comes in. I'm trying to hire
between
RJ
Social Security and what I get paid for this podcast, I'm looking at tents in San Francisco right now. That's what I'm looking at.
That still runs about at three grand a month.
Yeah, I might not even be able to afford that.
That's right. That's right.
All right,
Thank you,
get
Ray.
out of here.
Thank you, buddy.
Take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. Take care.
Ray Longo Minute every week on the Anik and Florian podcast dating back to 2015. And we now give a proper intro to our guy, RJ Clifford.
How am I supposed to follow that up?
Yeah.
Do I have to crap out a golden egg to one up the Ray Longo Minute? I don't know what I can do. Everyone's just okay, well, Ray's gone. RJ time. We'll do our best. We'll make it work.
Thank you, buddy. Well, it's always great to see you. And I mean, sometimes the Ray Longo Minute isn't as maybe compelling, if I can humbly call it that, as it was today. Sometimes it's not great, There was actually a time over the 11 years where he was super fucking long-winded and I didn't know how to tell him.
The Ray Longo Minutes, it's the BMF of radio segments. The normal rules of hierarchy and rankings and who beats who. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. It's his own little metric.
It's fair.
You know?
Thank you, buddy. So it's great to see you. We've talked a lot about a number of different things, and I know you're well versed to talk about it. Now, this fight night began with an obnoxious number of decisions, and it ended with so many different headlines and things to talk about. I don't know if you saw my new favorite fighter, Carlos Leal. What a fucking monster that guy is. But no, I want to ask you about Strickland first, if I could. So 30th pro MMA win, and I just thought he was super hungry, really sort of seems to have maximized the year away. He was in outstanding shape, and he did to Fluffy what nobody's done really since COVID. So I wanted to first get your thoughts on the main event, my man.
Yeah, I thought, look, you won't find a bigger Fluffy Hernandez fan than me, like just like anybody else, right? Just his style of fighting, the energy that he brings. He rides like a high school wrestler on top. He like breaks all the rules and how you're supposed to ride. Durable, fun, drops an F-bomb every third word, like flagrantly talks about how much he smokes, and a family man. Like, come on, I want that guy to be my neighbor. But I just thought that Sean Strickland had a style that was just absolute kryptonite to Anthony Hernandez. Like, Strickland's knows how to fight long. No, he's great teep. He's like really the only guy in MMA that's regularly teeping, which is kind of wild. That I can't think of anyone who does it consistently. Long jabs, long right hand, and he's incredibly difficult to take down and even harder to hold down. And so if this fight ended up staying at like a kickboxing range, I mean, Strickland was just going to eat the entire time. And I think people are starting to realize that Hernandez can be kind of weak to the body. And it just took one really good knee from Sean Strickland to make that happen. So I was talking about how Sean Strickland's like a plus 235 underdog last week. I'm like, what am I missing here? And I was called an idiot. I think our good friend Michael LaPlante, producer at the UFC, said, RJ, the UFC lines, it's all recency bias. And the last time we saw Strickland, he was getting beat up by Dricus du Plessis, getting blanked, I think, 50-45. And last time we saw Anthony Hernandez, he was like pulling dudes out of the bar like a bouncer by the neck and strangling them. And so it's like, that's what's stuck in people's minds. But Strickland still got it.
RJ, you're the smartest idiot I know. I got to say, no, you called it, dude. You called it perfectly on the podcast, and I didn't really see it. So, congrats on that. That was awesome. Do you think, again, Hernandez has that high pressure style. He takes you down. He knows how to ride you and eat up the clock. Khamzat Chimaev, of course, a little different, but I think they have the same style. Khamzat with more energy, maybe with more technique for sure. But do you think this is a style that can give a guy like Khamzat Chimaev trouble?
I think Fluffy lacks the physicality that he would need for the really upper echelon guys at 185. Dricus, incredibly physical. Khamzat, incredibly physical. He is a stud. He has a diverse takedown game. If he gets on top and he gets momentum on his side, God only knows what's going to happen. But unless he's going to gas you out, he's really not going to put a whooping on you. And that's not to say that that's like a weakness. Like, that's cardio is the ultimate weapon for Fluffy Hernandez, and it's worked so well up to this point. But if the fight gets to a fourth or fifth round with Chimaev with his potential cardio issues, then we're talking. But the physicality that you need to be able to get in an over-under clinch with Dricus or Khamzat or even like Calbahario even. I mean, it just takes, it takes the level of physicality that I don't know if Fluffy has.
I should have prefaced that by saying that I'm talking about Strickland's ability to match up with someone like Chimaev coming off of the win of Hernandez. So do you see that? Does this bode well for you? I mean, do you think like, hey, maybe Strickland can get an upset against Chimaev?
I think the exact same way. I think, fourth and fifth round, like the really fun part about Strickland versus Fluffy for me was they both have crazy cardio, but completely different. Strickland paces himself and knows how to be very efficient with his movements, while Fluffy just has a third long and just goes. It's like, so which one? But in Strickland against, when he's in 5 rounders, his highest output is usually in the 5th round. So he's a guy that kind of, I don't know if he saves his cardio, but it comes on late. That's what I think need against Khamzat Chimaev. Like Chimaev, like I said, Sean Strickland, extremely hard to take down. And then when you do, you almost never land any ground and pound or get any submissions. He's just so squirrely. Chimaev does that 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times in the first 3, 4 rounds, like he could really gas out. So yeah, I think again with all things Sean Strickland, I think cardio's the X factor.
If you're Nassourdini Mavov and you watch this masterclass from Sean Strickland, it's less than ideal for you as the consensus #1 contender, even though you're #2 behind Dricus du Plessis, because you have a head-to-head loss against Sean Strickland and you don't sell nearly as well. Now, RJ, you might know better than I as to how much Nassourdini Mavov as a French guy would potentially move a needle, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, Chimaev versus Strickland is an absolutely massive fight. And if you can somehow maybe rein Sean in a little bit to incentivize him to take, I mean, I don't even know that you have to rein him in, but they did cut his mic Saturday night. I mean, how do you not make that fight? I mean, how do you not make that fight right now?
And I think that fight brings out the best in both guys. Khamzat Chimaev, like he's a proud guy, and he hears Strickland calling him everything, with his history. And Sean Strickland, I had a colleague of ours that will remain nameless, and he texted me. He's like, I think Strickland's X-power in this fight is his racism, because he doesn't want to lose, in his mind, a terrorist, right? He doesn't want to lose to Khamzat Chimaev, he's like, oh no, he's the warlord guy, and blah blah blah. He's just like, he can't. His inner strength will not let him do that. So I think for storyline wise, it's the way to go. But I think it's kind of tongue in cheek. But if Strickland, his motivation has kind of bounced around in the last 18 to 24 months. He's been open about that. Motivation's gonna be at 1 million.
Oh, can we get that in the lower third as far as when they have the strengths and weaknesses? Just have
cardio, reach, disdain for other cultures.
Politically
proud American. Yeah, there we go.
Proud American.
RJ Clifford with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. Thanks to everybody with us live on YouTube today. We appreciate that. We appreciate it after the fact, just a skosh less. So I do want to ask you about Melchizael Costa, but I'm going to table that in the nature of time and ask about the stoppage in the Jacoby Smith-Josiah Harrell fight. And certainly as a talking head, by the way, if you are an NFL fan, RJ hosts an NFL podcast centered on the Las Vegas Raiders. It is called the Autumn Windbags. But referees sometimes damned if you do, damned if you don't. So Kerry Hatley certainly plays into this. I think Jacoby Smith getting a couple extra plays into this. In 2008, when Kenny was bludgeoning fellow Massachusetts native Joe Lozon, Lozon wasn't unconscious, but Kenny didn't have any love lost for Joe. He wanted to beat the fuck out of the fellow Massachusetts native, and had Lozon been unconscious, I would argue Kenny might have thrown an extra shot. So I know Kenny thinks Jacoby threw an extra punch or two, and I think that's undeniable. You can't control, if you're Jacoby Smith, that Josiah Harrell was staring death in the face and had brain surgery when you're punching a guy out and trying to become a world champion. So what do you have for us on the stoppage and Jacoby's maybe lack of restraint, and Kerry Hatley's not ideal situation either?
So it was kind of weird. I've rewatched that finish several times. I still can't tell if Josiah Harrell was knocked out from got wobbly from the throw or from the punches. I think there's a case where he got a great takedown on Jacoby. And then I don't know what you call that move, Kenny, when he just breakdanced over this hip.
So cool.
Oh my God. How was Jacoby not a national champion wrestler at the D1 level? He is incredible. So that was kind of out of Kerry Hatley's hands, where it was kind of weird there. But there was a point where we all knew Josiah Harrell was done and out. Everyone except Kerry Hatley knew that. And so when the follow-up punches were coming and there was no touch, and then the ref steps in and there was 2 more, I don't know. As a guy who fought as a huge head case, I don't remember my first fight because the nerves were it was 69 seconds and I don't remember a single thing because the nerves are that wild. Can you remember those early days when the fights were just nuts? And Jacoby Smith still semi-green at 11 pro fights. If you told me he was just trying to be an asshole, I believe you. Or if Jacoby Smith said, look, I didn't know the fight was over. I was trying to get the fight done. I've kind of felt him touch me, kind of didn't, and I just threw 2 more that maybe I shouldn't. I believe him too. So I don't have a lot of, I'm not going to swing a giant axe of blame in any direction. Except at the ref. That's always the
Kenny.
Yeah, I agree. I think the ref should have jumped in there, obviously a lot quicker. And did a good job at the end after he threw those extra punches of making sure the fighter wasn't going to follow up with even more shots. He made sure he pushed him away a couple times and things like that. But yeah, he was late getting in there, man. And I agree. I think that's fair, RJ. You know, sometimes you have this tunnel vision where you are almost like you're just in the moment and you just get caught up, you know, throwing punches and just getting the finish and all that stuff. And I think that perhaps that was the case. But man, what do you think about Jacoby Smith and his potential? I mean, clearly his athleticism is on a different level.
Yeah, and being under the wing of Daniel Cormier certainly helps a lot. Having the background of Oklahoma State, who destroyed Iowa in their wrestling dual meet yesterday. Good golly, Miss Molly. Things are going great for those guys. But yeah, no, I think the biggest questions for me when wrestlers come in are there's obviously a lot, but the two biggest things that don't translate naturally, and they either have it or they don't, is comfortability under fire.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do all the things you've learned when some guy's trying to turn your beak around like a Warner Brothers cartoon? And chin. Those are I think the two most important things. And Jacoby Smith has shown he's both. Like, he's certainly found himself in some rough situations, but he's battled out of it and he's taken some pretty good shots and he's been able to hang in there. So everything else, all the stuff we see on the surface, athleticism, wrestling, mentality, camp, he's got an 18 pack, like that's all there. And then the two kind of out there things I think have shown so far so good. I like how the UFC's I know Josiah was a late notice replacement, but it's very rare for the UFC to kind of develop guys, right? Normally it's you throw them in there and go. I like the matchmaking so far for the UFC and how they choose Jacoby Smith.
And real quick, Justin Gaethje, 0 street fights lifetime. Jacoby Smith, plenty. Okay, he's a born fighter. I can't tell you how many, but I really do believe the mean streak, to whatever degree, is going to serve him well. But RJ, you hit on a lot of, I think, important points just about fighting on instinct and being green. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And one other thing I would add, he normally arrives during fight week closer to 182 pounds, came at 190. So he has added some muscle mass. Hey, before we get to our next guest, RJ, I do want to ask you, in the context of Diego Lopez's frustrating second effort against Alexander Volkanovski, we have all these featherweight contenders that the fan base is excited to see against Volk, whether it's Movsar Evloev or Lerone Murphy or Melchizael fucking Costa, bro. Like, I'm just saying, against, and certainly you can talk about Ige's historic durability, which we have against Lerone Murphy. It was competitive, but how competitive is this seemingly 5-tool player, Melchizael Costa, to be a featherweight elite?
He's coming along. Obviously, Dan Ige never been stopped before with strikes, and so that's a giant feather in his cap. The unique look always helps. Like, you're always going to know who he is, right? When he fights, you're like, who Brazilian is that again? Like, I know who that guy is for sure. I just saw, like, literally right before we came on, just a cool little, like, he threw a teep and then shifted to southpaw and then caught Ige coming in. Like, all those little tiny details that he didn't have 5 fights ago. Mm-hmm. You're starting to see it, right? You haven't seen a giant singular element of his game, like maybe he couldn't wrestle and now he can or something like that. It's just, you just see 100 little situational fighting elements that he's comfortable in. And Kenny, I remember in Avocado Ruben Fox a decade ago, we're talking about like the evolution of MMA isn't the best striker, best wrestler, best jiu-jitsu guy. It's the best MMA guy, not the guy that wins at wrestling practice, but knows how to make it all flow together. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing out of him. Not one giant element change. It's just all the gray areas of MMA he has an answer to, and it's really impressive.
Yeah. You're always impressive at RJ Clifford MMA. We appreciate
I just come here for the compliments. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, buddy. What's your next UFC assignment?
I'll be headed to Mexico City here on Thursday, and we'll see Brandon Moreno in front of his hometown again. Maybe you can go to the pharmacy for me. We'll talk offline. Thank you, RJ. As if you need help getting anything, John. Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun.
You're the man. RJ Clifford with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. He will be an increasing presence on the show here in 2026 and hopefully beyond. Look at this guy. What an absolute star in the making this guy is. Can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me, but he looks the part. Cody, maybe you can take
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear
you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, that's all right. We'll fix it. That's okay. We'll fix it. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani about to join us live after a successful UFC debut. I went and looked at the scorecards, and I really thought he won that fight. At least one judge gave him around of 1, 2, and 3, but he had to emerge by split decision. So that was what I was going to lead with. I'm just curious about that. And I have to get a few minutes to talk about Carlos Leal later. Also, time permitting, I'm telling you, this is a fight night that had more headlines than any other. Josiah Harrell, right? Knowing the history, Kenny, with the brain surgery, and then to see him get knocked out like that and seize, there's a lot. JPL, can you hear me, brother?
I hear you guys.
Great to see you.
There we go.
Center after a win in his UFC debut, Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, Mufasa, as he's known, across Hermosa Beach, California, and Las Vegas. Congratulations on the win, man. We appreciate a few minutes. How you doing?
I'm doing good, feeling good, and happy to be here with you guys.
So Kenny spent a lot of time in Southern California, so your name had crossed his wake prior, right, Kenny?
Yes, absolutely. Been hearing about you for a long time, man. I know, the history of your dad and being the striking coach for Royce Gracie and all that great history, man. Being a kid that young, being around all those great martial artists, what's the thing that you probably picked up? I guess what was the biggest lesson that you picked up from being around guys like Royce Gracie?
I think being around guys like Royce, honestly, seeing Royce growing up, he was like viewed very differently than he is now, because I feel like in martial arts, like you become kind of like old news very, very fast. So when Royce was like at his prime, I was like a little kid. And, being able to see him and my dad work together was really cool, especially when the sport was like first starting out. And compared to what it's like now, it was very interesting. But I've been a part of a lot of high level guys camps in the past, and Brian Ortega being one of them. And I think the biggest takeaway from being a part of camps like this is trying to learn from their mistakes and not making the same mistakes when it comes to the team dynamic, the preparation, and stuff like that. So, I feel like I'm in a really good spot with the crew that I have now.
Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani live with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. So congrats on the win, man. Certainly from our vantage point, we didn't think that it was going to be a split decision. I know if you look at the scorecards, you can find at least one judge that gave you round 1, round 2, and round 3. But I thought it was productive. I mean, what were your overall thoughts, having, I assume, watched it back at this point in time on what you did well and what maybe could have gone a little bit better for you in the debut?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a split decision is crazy. And in the fight, I felt like I was, putting the pressure, always going for the finish the entire fight. And it felt like Phil was just kind of waiting till the last 15 seconds of every round to kind of steal the round in some sort of way. But I feel like I did a good job of mixing it up and making it, MMA, striking, taking them down, trying to go for submissions, just doing everything I possibly could to look for the kill. And looking back on it, I almost kind of forced it a little bit too much on the ground. I feel like if I just kind of took my time a little bit more, there might have been an opportunity there to snatch his neck or find a finish in a submission of some sort.
So you had been at this pursuit to become not just an MMA fighter, but a UFC fighter since you were 3 years old. And with all respect to your fairly legendary father, no, I'm not sure that any athlete had as much paternal pressure as you did to get to the UFC. I can't imagine how I might have crumbled underneath that. You go to Dana White's Contender Series, the ultimate pressure-packed proving ground, knowing that maybe if you don't win that fight, you're not going to the UFC. So now you did it. And I know you have championship aspirations, but I guess I don't even have a question as much as I want to congratulate you on checking a box that you had a lot of pressure to fucking check.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I definitely did. I felt like there's a lot of people who want to see me succeed and very few that want to see me lose. But, those very few add a lot of motivation to me. And, getting the contract on Dana White's Contender Series and now getting the win in the UFC it's the best feeling in the world, and now, finally now, I feel like the pressure's off, that I've won in the UFC. And I feel like now I can just be free to just let it fly and do whatever I want in there.
What do you do mentally, man, to deal with that kind of pressure? Like, what do you tell yourself? And is there a specific training kind of regiment that you do to kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so I've been quite an overthinker most of my career. I've worked with mental coaches. I've, read the self-help books and stuff like that. And where I'm at now is I honestly just don't take myself too seriously. I don't take fighting too seriously. And I just try to stay present, no matter what. If I feel those fight nerves or any sort of pressure, I just remind myself that, in this very moment, I'm not fighting right now. So why am I going to put this pressure on myself?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, how it ends up working out is I end up being in the back, I end up walking out, I end up being in the cage, and those nerves never really hit. And that happened this last weekend. I just ended up enjoying every little bit of it. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. 5-0 now since moving up from lightweight to welterweight. And you do consider yourself a true welterweight. You cut 20 plus pounds, right? So I wonder, in terms of the mentality to make the walk maybe an extra time a year, I mean, are you able to compete a little bit more frequently as a welterweight? And ultimately, what do you think would be the landscape for 2026 as to how soon and how often we might see it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to stay as active as possible. I think me fighting at welterweight and being a true welterweight and always being ready to fight is really important because, I think a fight is like a burglar. You never know when someone's going to break in your house and try to kill you. You
Right.
got to be ready at all times, and that's the way that I live my life. I'm in camp 365 days out of the year, and if there's any short notice opportunities or anything like that, I always want to make sure that I'm in a good place to accept the fight on 2 weeks' notice or less. And I'm confident I can do that right now.
It seems like you handle pressure exceedingly well, and it ends up being Phil Rowe, right? Not your initial opponent. And he's the tallest welterweight on the roster, right? And almost like, some people, right? I think Jocko Willink would say, good, good. Give me this challenge, right? I'd be like, come on,
Check this
man.
out. Can you guys see that?
There it is. How about that?
Good.
That's awesome.
So there it is, right? But when it was Phil Rowe, I mean, that's a different challenge in many ways than you're going to ever see the rest of your UFC welterweight career in terms of the size and that uniqueness of it, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like let's rip the Band-Aid off. They're gonna throw me to the sharks. I've been training my whole life, so I better be able to swim. And I think Phil Rowe is the perfect opportunity for me to fight somebody that is not easy to put away, not easy to beat, and has a lot more experience than me in the UFC. And I think going forward, I have a lot more confidence and knowing, I can hang with, some of the toughest guys in the division. And I feel like walking away with a win the way that I did, there's still a little bit of feeling of it's not like getting a finish. I do not like winning by decision.
yeah.
So part of me walks away with it almost like I got the win, but it feels like a loss because I didn't finish the guy. So I'm gonna learn a lot from this. And the
Yeah.
last time I won by decision, I went on a 3-fight finishing streak. So I'm planning on doing the same thing in this UFC run as well.
Man, it just seems like you've built so many things the right way. Not that there hasn't been some challenges, but 27 years old, just turned 27. How long have you lived in Vegas?
I've lived in Vegas for about a year and a half now.
How's that navigation? I know from a training standpoint, it couldn't be better in the PI, and you can lean on Cobra Team, everything else. But how is it living in Vegas? Like, are you climbing rocks and shit? Like, what are you doing out there?
Honestly, Vegas for me is really just like a focus
Yeah. Yeah.
destination. I come here and I train 2 to 3 times a day. I go back to this little apartment with two of my roommates and go to sleep, and the process sort of repeats itself. But I do drive back to California almost every single weekend just to be in Hermosa, just to go to
Yeah.
the beach and kind of take my mind off of everything. And it is quite a sacrifice and it's not easy, but it really balances me out. I have the yin and yang of going really hard here for 5 days out of the week and then kind of mellowing it out for 2 days
Yeah.
back in Hermosa.
And knowing a guy like you probably maximize that car time listening to shit that'll be productive. I'd be
exactly.
but trying to find new reggae songs. Well, congratulations, man. We're very excited to see the ascent and everything else, and try to enjoy the fruits, man. I know it's a long time coming, but congrats on a huge win in the debut. And do you have any idea who they're going to give you next, right? Like, I don't know how much MMA you ingest on the regular, but I would imagine like you can at least like look at a group of maybe 4 to 6 names. Like, any fucking clue who they might give you next?
Honestly, I really don't know, but
It's hard at welterweight. There's so many of you guys, But.
Yeah, I want to gain as much experience before I really start climbing.
Yeah.
And I want them to give me guys that are going to push me and bring the best out of me while still, building my way into those ranked conversations and stuff like that.
Well, we appreciate your time. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, Mufasa. Enjoy, brother. We appreciate you. We'll see you down the road, I'm sure.
Congrats, all right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani with us here live on the Anik and Florian podcast. The story is truly unbelievable in terms of sort of the pressure that was on him, from his father to get to this place. And I'm just looking at some of the quotes from our fighter meeting, my soul is meant for fighting. And I think you can tell that, but he also said, it was brutal. Like, his dad was really hard on him. And if it was me and my dad's like, you got to go to the UFC, I'd be like, oh man, you got the wrong dude, man. Like, I'm not tough
Yeah. I think about that with my own son, and I do not want him to fight at all. However, if he was absolutely committed to fighting, then I would prepare him for fighting. And it's not, how can you have an easy lifestyle and approach if you are going to get into that game? It's brutal. So that's a tough one. That's an interesting one, man, but props to him. That's a lot.
Interesting talking to a couple of young fighters right now who are about to get into sort of some of that monotony, as Jordan Levitt put it, that is the next 5 years as they try to pursue this very difficult initiative. So I was mentioning Josiah Harrell, the muscle hamster, and he's a really good fighter, and he was 11-0, just like Jacoby Smith. Yeah, it's a great nickname.
Yeah.
It was a joke from his high school football coach, I guess. But it's a tough thing, right? Because as a commentator, right, that he had this brain disease. He had brain surgery. He's been medically cleared to fight, but then he gets brutally knocked out like this and is seizing all over the octagon. And you have to think that some executive, whether it's Dana White or somebody else, is like, man, this is hard to watch. And I'm not sure, I don't know what you have for us on that, Kenny, but that was really hard to watch him seizing like that, just knowing the history.
100% makes it all the more difficult. And, this is a sport that is unforgiving, and one little mistake, that wasn't even a mistake. He took him down and then got rolled. Things could change so damn quickly. And I thought he was performing really well, going on the offense, doing some really cool stuff out there. And then the fight just changed in an instant. And then, he's knocked out cold. So I hope he's able to recover from this. I think he will. But there was definitely some concern for me on the aftermath of that fight.
A lot of listeners could say to me that I'm not a doctor, and I'm curious maybe what your dad would say, but this is what he wants to do, and he's a really good fighter. I think he can realize success. There are far easier matchups for him than Jacoby Smith. This is a kid who also accepted Jack Della Maddalena on short notice. Again, Matt Brown couldn't be a better influence and couldn't have had better things to say about him. So, yeah, I guess in one breath, I would hope that he can return to health and get another shot. But, it's hard to see him get knocked out so violently. I don't know if you saw Carlos Leal in the feature prelim. Did you see that?
I did. And I know, Carlos from fighting over in the PFL.
Oh, yeah.
This is one hard-nosed fighter. This guy loves to fight, loves to move forward. He's as tough as they come, man. And what a fight between him and Njokuani, man. That was awesome. And I thought, Njokuani fought really well, but Leal just would not stop pressing forward, landed a whole lot of big shots himself. And yeah, he is like a promoter's dream, man. He always comes to fight for sure.
Got absolutely hosed, if you don't know, in his UFC debut against Rinat Fakhreddinov.
Yes.
He fought Sadabu C in the PFL, and he says Sadabu didn't even fight him. So Yes, I'm buying Carlos Leal merchandise. Just the look in his eyes. I mean, I think I even look like the fucking guy a little bit. Anyway.
He's a good guy too. He's nice.
So yeah, excuse me, the way and how happy he was to get that win, knowing that when you leave it in the judge's hands, as awful a phrase as that is for some people to hear, right? You could see part of his reaction was because he got absolutely robbed in his UFC debut. All right. Good stuff. A lot to unpack on Fight Night. Thanks for indulging us, but we do have to spin it forward to that end. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you right in the middle of basketball's biggest star-driven moments. Bet player props, bet live, and when a game turns fast, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player gets injured anytime in the first half, your bet stays alive, and once it settles, you still get paid in cash. It's built-in protection for star-driven bets backed by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code AFPOD. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly with code AFPOD in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. All right, I'm back to Vegas in about 10 days for UFC 326. Before that, it is UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh. We got 3 quick picks for you today, Kenny. At lightweight, Daniel Zellhuber minus 520. King Green is plus 390. Man, Zellhuber prohibitively favored as usual. He's 3-3 in the UFC. Back-to-back losses to Esteban Ribovics and Michael Johnson. Now facing the 28-time UFC veteran King Green. Kenny, who do you like?
I was very surprised by those odds. And maybe they're just writing off King Green because he hasn't been so consistent and has had a rough patch here or hit a rough patch. But Zellhuber also, I got to say, I don't know what Zellhuber is going to show up. He has been fighting more to kind of entertain than he is to win, I think, than he's there to win. And I think there's some value on King Green, to be honest, because Zellhuber hasn't been so reliable. But I do expect Zellhuber to most likely get the win.
Green coming off a split win over Lance Gibson Jr. That came after the back-to-back losses to Mauricio Hoofy and Patty Pimblett. King Green looks to be in the best shape of his life right now. If you go on his Instagram, he is absolutely shredded. How about this fact that I dug up this morning real quick? Not that we're doing a deep dive, but 5 of King Green's first 8 fights took place in Mexico.
Wow.
And back in 2008, he fought and won 3 times in one night in Mexico City to win the Warriors FC Lightweight Tournament. At altitude, Mexico City, he wins 3 times in one night back in 2008. We did not cover that on MMA Live. All right, co-main event at bantamweight. Pretty big price here as well, Kenny. I like the fight. David Martinez minus 258, Marlon Chito Vera plus 210.
Awesome fight. I think, this is going to be a difficult fight for Chito, though. Why? Because Martinez is so damn fast. His ability to get in and out, the variety of his strikes. But I think his speed is going to pose some problems for Chito. I think Chito's best bet is to try to turn into a grappler and put Martinez on his back. If he can do that, I don't think he has the wrestling to be able to do that. So I'm going Martinez here.
Chito's lost 3 straight, 4 of 5. Last loss, that split to Ayman Zahabi. Martinez, number 10 in the bantamweight rankings right now, 13-1, 2-0 thus far in the UFC. Had the win over Rob Font last September. All right, main event at flyweight. Interesting price here, and I'll leave the adjective at interesting. Brandon Moreno minus 225, Lonnie Kavanagh plus 185. Kavanagh stepping in for an injured Asu Almabayev who hurt his hand. Kavanagh's 9-1. Coming off his first pro loss, though, a knockout to Charles Johnson last August. Kenny Moreno, your good friend, the former 2-time champion, about 2-1 this weekend.
Yeah, I think Moreno, if he's able to be sharp with that jab, keep Kavanagh on the outside, integrate, the full mixed martial arts arsenal, I think he wins this fight. However, Kavanagh is extremely dangerous. I think this guy is an absolute dynamo when he's on his game, when it comes to his striking. Extremely fast, very athletic. So Moreno really needs to mind his P's and Q's here. So for him, though, he's got to employ his full arsenal, keep mixing it up against Kavanagh, keep him guessing. And if he does that, I expect Moreno to win. So I'm going the way of Moreno.
Very interesting fight. Ken Flo is particularly high on Kavanagh. He is a little bit attached to Brandon Moreno on a personal level as well. It's a fascinating fight because I sit here and submit to you that when Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van fight in Miami for the flyweight title, that Taira will close as the betting favorite and has a great chance to become the flyweight champion of the world. I could be wrong, but we've never seen Brandon Moreno beaten quite like he was stopped by Tatsuro Taira in December. So,
and these are the fights where you really have to be careful. You know, when you've been around the game for a long time and you have this guy who's just getting into the UFC, you do not want to let your guard down. So, going to be interesting.
All right, place your bets. Brought to you by johnanik.com, where you can support the Anik and Florian podcast and get 15% off your merchandise order with promo code One More Sleep. All right, we quickly update the results from last week. Ian Parker. Where's my sheet? Ian Parker, 3-team parlay. Included Fluffy Hernandez. That was a loss. He had a straight wager on Ante Delia. Lost 200 there. Did hit a straight wager on Michel Pereira. He escapes over Zachary Reese, and also a straight wager on Chidi Bang Bang and Jaquani was a loss. So total for the week for Parker minus 664.86. It's all in front of my fat face if I look up. Year to date for Ian is minus 694.66, and for Kenny Florian just had the $1,000 straight wager go by the board. So
I want to recount. I want to recount on that judge's scorecard, John.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it was
certainly could have gone either way. Yeah, could have gone either way. When you do think back to the end of the year, though, these are some of the fights that could swing the pendulum. So Ian Parker's wager this weekend, I will start with that $1,000 parlay on Daniel Zellhuber, David Martinez, and Brandon Moreno. Is that the chalkiest fucking selection in the history of the Anik and Florian podcast, right? Like, I mean, was that just to get me off his back with the plus 137? Okay. Get out your sidewalk chalk. There's your favorites parlay from Ian. Kenny, you got $1,000. If you're going in the same direction, I apologize. But
yeah, I was going to say I probably shouldn't be laughing so hard. I'm going to keep it simple as well. I'm going to go with 1,000 on Martinez. I think he's
I mean, that's
pose some problems for Cheeto,
go.
but it should be a good one. Yeah.
$1,000 on David, the Dr. Martinez. All right, we got to get on out of here. Thank you to Jordan Leavitt, Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, Ray Longo, RJ Clifford. Thanks to Nathan Bronson, Cody Merrow, everybody at All the Smoke. We are right back with you earlier than usual, though. I will be in Las Vegas next Monday. We're going to be live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and we will preview UFC 326 Holloway versus Oliveira 2. We'll also see how it went between Mr. Kavanagh and Moreno in Mexico City this weekend. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, best way to support the show, not to buy merchandise, just to subscribe to the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel, as well as All the Smoke Fight. We appreciate that. We will talk to you next Monday. Until then, for Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. You'll fucking later.